Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my sister for sleeping with my boyfriend after he made her sick? I'm 22 and used to date Cole, 22 male. We knew each other our whole lives and started dating in high school. 3 years ago, I found out Cole and my sister Millie, 21 female, were sleeping together. I broke up with Cole and went no contact with Millie. She wasn't really sorry anyway, so it's not like she was crying and begging me to forgive her. Our parents were more upset than she was, and they knew it too. Millie never knew Cole cheated on me with others as well. I found out after our relationship ended, and I didn't even confront him. I just got tested and was lucky not to have caught anything from him. Millie and Cole were together until Millie found out she was HIV positive and that Cole had been cheating on her their whole relationship. She decided to regret what she did after her life fell apart. She reached out to apologize, but I ignored her. She's already blocked, and I have nothing to say to her. She can cry about her diagnosis and Cole being an a-hole to someone else. Millie told everyone about what happened. My parents stood by me and said she had no right to expect forgiveness or a relationship with me. But my mom's 2 siblings are telling me how important siblings are and how I need to forgive her. They said she was so young and that I should make room for forgiveness for that reason and not let Cole destroy us. My uncle also said that as the older sibling, I should be able to soften my heart to her, since it's my job to look out for her and that I failed by not getting her away from Cole. I told him to F off with that nonsense and muted my aunt and uncle for now. Mom told her siblings to leave me alone. They said I should know better than to hold an 18-year-old's screw-up, one that she now has to live with for the rest of her life, against her. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. You are only a year older than her, and she was very young. Good siblings are important. Bad siblings are therapy fodder. Not the a-hole. Also, and no offense, but it's not like either of you are grown up now. You're still in your early 20s. It's only been a few years. Your frontal lobes haven't yet fully developed. Come back in your mid-30s, and she might be able to make a sincere apology to you and rebuild a relationship, if you want that. Not the a-hole. You were betrayed. You don't have to forgive anything. Where was all this your family talk when she was banging your boyfriend? I'm glad you got away from both of them. Tell your aunt and uncle that until your sister sleeps with their partners, if not biologically related, they have no say. My aunt and uncle weren't exactly rallying around me. My parents supported me though. I'm glad your parents supported you. And I'm also glad you got away from that cheating POS and prevented yourself from getting sick. I was really lucky too. He was screwing around a lot and I had no idea at the time. Who knows how many people he got sick with his actions. Next story. Am I the a-hole for staying anonymous after reporting my sister and her husband to CPS? My sister met her husband when she was pregnant with another man's child. She never told anyone in the family who the father is, other than saying he was an ex. She never told him about their child either. When she was asked about this, she said he didn't want to be with her anymore, so screw him, and that she'd met someone better anyway. She told us her husband, then boyfriend, was going to be the father of her baby, and he said he'd step up. They got engaged while she was still pregnant, and she wanted to get married before her son was born. He said no. Once these discussions were brought up around us, it became very clear my sister lied, and he had no desire to be a father to her son. He corrected anyone who asked if he was excited to be a father and snapped at the suggestion that my sister's son could be his junior. My sister stayed with him anyway and left the father blank on my nephew's birth certificate. My nephew was 1 when my sister and her husband got married. My sister's husband refused to include my nephew in any way, and when photos of the 3 were suggested, he said the wedding was for them, not him, my nephew. They had their first child together several months later, and another within a year. His mistreatment of my nephew has become even more blatant since he had children with my sister. He doesn't want any of his money going toward my nephew, and he refuses to let my nephew stay home with him and the other kids if my sister is busy. My sister has paid for a babysitter to come to her home while he's there with the other kids, because he said he would let my nephew starve. He's warned others to keep an eye on doors and windows, because he wouldn't stop my nephew from running out in front of the car or falling out an open window. I have babysat a few times and noticed no bruises, so to my knowledge there's no physical abuse. But there are threats of it. My sister buries her head in the sand. She defends her husband but also tells my nephew he's daddy, while he grumbles at my nephew every single time he calls him that. I did speak to my sister, and she wasn't receptive to hearing how awful it is. I was afraid to rock the boat too much and be pushed out, so I decided to anonymously report to CPS. They investigated but didn't find anything to warrant removing my nephew from my sister and her husband. When I reported, she had a bad run-in with a babysitter and some neighbors over how my nephew gets treated, so she's not sure who reported them. She swore that she would go ape on whoever it was when she found them. Because of this, I have stayed anonymous. I also called to find out more info on why nothing was done, and it comes down to my sister making sure my nephew is fed, and because he has a bed and no bruises or marks on him to suggest physical abuse. My sister said they told her it was an anonymous report and that the person was a coward for hiding. Some of my family agreed with her and meant it, which was disappointing. Everyone else keeps quiet and doesn't seem to care much. That's one big reason why I stayed anonymous. I know I will never see my nephew again if my sister finds out it was me, and I don't know if anyone else will speak up if things get worse for him. Am I the a-hole for staying anonymous, though? The consensus in my family appears to be that it's cowardly and pathetic to stay quiet if you felt brave enough to report in the first place. Not the a-hole. Stay anonymous but keep a close eye on your nephew. Let him know, when he is the right age, that you are a safe space, and quite frankly, neglect is abuse. I agree with you, but with his basic needs met and no signs of physical abuse, it doesn't appear to be a case CPS cares for. I worry though. With how strongly my sister's husband despises my nephew, it could be the smallest thing that leads to tragedy. He admits he wouldn't stop him from being hurt by someone else, so it's not a huge jump to say he might do physical harm on his own. I hope not, but I will keep my eyes open. As a mandated reporter, you're not the a-hole. You did everything to make sure that you can continue to look out for your nephew and keep him safe. If you told your sister, she would likely not have anything to do with you, and there would be nobody to protect your nephew. It's devastating that your sister allows her son to be treated this way. I'd probably go no contact with them when that kid turns 18, not from the nephew though, but that's just me. Disgusting behavior from the two of them. I want to. It's so hard to sit there and be all smiles and pretend to get along. But do too much, and I get put on no contact, and then nobody is looking out for my nephew. I just hope I can do enough to keep him alive and unharmed physically. Poor kid. Stay quiet and be ready to support when it gets worse. Your brother-in-law is a POS, not the a-hole. My sister too. She knew when she was pregnant how he felt, and she begged him to marry her and stayed even when he didn't give a crap about my baby nephew. This guy has been around since day one, and he hates a little baby. It's sick, and she knows and chooses to pretend things are great. Is there anyone in the family who could take in this little boy and give him love? I don't think that'll work. My sister would never willingly let him go, and if anyone pushed too hard like me, she'd get suspicious. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he'll ruin our relationship if he puts his wife before what's best for me and my brother? I, 16 female, have an 18-year-old brother, and our parents have been divorced for about 12 years. My parents always got along really well after the divorce. They threw us birthday parties together, celebrated Christmas together, and would talk about us and keep things good. My brother has medical issues, and they would be in the same room with him when he was sick or had a doctor's appointment. They also weren't those divorced parents who needed to schedule different times to speak to teachers. We were told we were the most important to them, and they never wanted us to feel caught in the middle. Overall, though, my parents didn't spend a lot of time together, but they could spend time together and did when it was for us. I liked how they did that, because it was nice to celebrate stuff with my whole family, and my brother loved that he didn't have to pick which parent came to see him when he was in the hospital. When I was 11, my dad got married again. His wife and us didn't get along super well, but not super bad either. She was included in the stuff with our parents, like birthday parties, Christmas, and other events. She was never very nice to Mom, though. And now my brother and I found out she doesn't approve of Dad and Mom talking or being in the same room. She doesn't like joint Christmas celebrations or birthday parties. She thinks everything should be separate, and my dad's actually thinking of doing it. They told me and my brother a couple of weeks ago. My brother stormed out and told Dad he wasn't dealing with that BS. Dad told me he knew it would be an adjustment, but it was for his wife. I asked him why she mattered more than us. He said she doesn't, but it's different because we're older now. So I was like, I have to have 2 weddings, 2 birthdays, 2 baby showers, and everything else in the future? His wife said yes, and Dad said that's not what she's asking. They spoke at the same time, so Dad changed what he said and told me we'd talk about it more. I asked about my brother being in the hospital, and she said he's an adult now, so it's not like Mom or Dad even need to be there. My dad said to let things be figured out more first. I told him why bother, and that he should know if he does this. If he puts her before us, then he'll ruin our relationship. The rest of the week at my dad's house was weird. My mom knows about it, and I told her I don't want to go to Dad's house if he's going to do this. She told me I'd have to go until a judge says otherwise, but she did speak to her lawyer and filed in court to see if we can let it be my choice. My dad's wife is angry at me and my brother for not accepting this, and she told me I put my dad in a bad position to lose one of us. Dad keeps saying we need to talk about this more, but I feel like he just wants me and my brother to accept what his wife wants. Am I the a-hole? And she told me I put my dad in a bad position to lose one of us. The one wanting to change things is responsible for the consequences, not the a-hole. Tell them there will be no duplicate events, but you can stop inviting them if they would like that. So I was like, I have to have 2 weddings, 2 birthdays, 2 baby showers, and everything else in the future. His wife said yes. I just uninvite her from all future events. He can either be at you and your brother's events with your mom and have a relationship with you, or he can F off. Throw an ultimatum his way and watch him squirm. Coward putting his junk before his own children. Not the a-hole. If his wife is so insecure that she can't deal with her husband being around his ex, then she shouldn't have married him. She knew what the situation was when they got together. She had plenty of time to walk away if she wasn't happy with the dynamics. I think you and your brother should try talking to Dad again, without her present. Reiterate to him that neither of you are happy with this. If she doesn't want to be around your mom anymore, that's absolutely fine. She can miss all of the events and special occasions, but you aren't having to. So he can either choose to show up and be in his kids' lives or not. But make sure he understands that if he doesn't, he shouldn't act surprised in a few years when he doesn't see or hear from either of you anymore. We can try talking to him alone about this, but I wonder if that'll be allowed, or if she'll be included regardless. Maybe she doesn't like the idea of him being around us without her either. Last story. Am I the a-hole for apparently being the reason my ex's engagement ended? I, 27 female, have a 6-year-old child with my ex, 29 male. We've been broken up since our child was 1. I have primary custody. My ex sees our child 2 weekends a month. The reason for this is that my ex decided he didn't want to give up his whole life to be a parent and thinks every other weekend is enough. I should also note that he doesn't always take his weekends and has let our child down in the past. 3 years ago, he started dating someone else, and they got engaged in February of this year. Once they were engaged, I started getting calls and texts from an unknown number, and I found out it was his fiancée. He had told her I would be open to her coming over and taking my child out for the day, and he gave her my numbers so we could plan this. He never mentioned it to me, and it took entirely too long for me to figure out what was going on. Getting a bunch of texts from an unknown number saying, "Answer the damn phone! Call me. I'd like to meet up and figure this out," is not something I expected. When I did answer a call from her, she was set on taking my child out for the day and told me my ex said it was okay. I told her it was not okay, that I didn't know her, and that I wasn't going to hand my child over to someone like that. Then I suggested she make the most of the time my ex has. This was not a popular answer with her, and she had my ex using our co-parenting app to send request after request for me to let his fiancée take our child out for the day. My ex told me in July that I was saying no too much, and it was ruining his relationship. Last month, his fiancée ended their engagement and broke things off with him. She blamed me via text and said she was not going to stay in a hostile environment where she was treated like stranger danger toward the child she was supposed to be the stepmother of. My ex blamed me for this too. He accused me of sabotaging his relationship and chasing away potential stepmothers from our child's life. I told him I didn't give a damn about his relationships. What I cared about was having someone I don't know feeling entitled to take my child from my home. Then I pointed out he was the reason she believed she could in the first place. Instead of just moving on and accepting what happened, he is telling everyone I broke them up. Some of his buddies are quick to say something when they see me. I think most people see it as BS because he's not a very involved father to begin with. I did have a mom friend in a group I'm part of tell me I kind of did sabotage his relationship because the woman he was with was trying to know my kid and I didn't let her. She said I had no reason to say no like I did once I knew who was texting and calling and what she wanted. This turned into a small fight because I asked her if she'd be okay with it, and she told me she would. She said most single moms with primary or full custody would love for their kids to have people who want to take care of them. She said it was my ego that made me break them up because I didn't want my child to have a stepmom. I still think it's crazy to blame me, and I think it's also crazy to say I should have agreed to this. But I'm willing to be big enough to ask if I'm wrong and accept if people think I am. So, do you think I broke up his relationship? Am I the a-hole for saying no to her taking my kid for the day on my parenting time? I am so curious. She's basically a stranger, and he expects you to just hand over your child to her? She was a stranger. We had not met once when she started texting and calling. She didn't even ID herself when she was doing it, so I was getting calls and texts from who knows who. It could have been a scam for all I knew. Your mom friend is an idiot who didn't listen to a word you said. A close and trusted friend who knows your child may well give you a child care break, but some hassly woman whom you've never laid eyes on? No one would want that. Not the a-hole. You didn't break them up. His poor relationship skills with you, your child, and his now ex-girlfriend have caused all of this. He is apparently poison in anyone's life. And I imagine most of his friends who bother to learn all the facts about this would agree with you. I'm not so sure about his friends. I think they'd all side with him regardless, but who knows? Maybe if and when they have their own kids, their opinions will change.